Hello, my name is Dr. Karl Meneghella and I would like to welcome you to this episode of Education as a Garden, Dig It. Today it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Michelle Silva. Dr. Silva, how are you?
Keeping well, sir.
Very good. A pleasure to meet you.
Me too, sir.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your academic journey and your interests?
Yes. I'm Dr. Michelle Silva from University of Kelaniya. Actually, I'm a very prestigious, proud output of University of Kelaniya. And I earned my first degree in Human Resource Management in 2009. And I obtained gold medal for earning highest grade point average in the department. And I earned my second degree, Master of Business Administration from University of Colombo in 2016. Then I read my PhD in entrepreneurship from University of Jayawardenepura. I earned my third degree. And exactly complete in 3 years period, I obtained my second gold medal from the university. Actually, I'm really interested about the research in entrepreneurship because I completed my PhD also in entrepreneurship domain. And I have published many articles in both human resource management as well as entrepreneurship. So that's all about me.
That's a very impressive CV. I think especially for our female audience out there, this is a testament to empowerment. I mean, lifelong learning, and it's critical for everyone. And this is a great example of someone who has embodied lifelong learning and excellence along the way. So 2 gold medals for highest GPA. So very, very impressive. Okay, let's start. My first question is, why is entrepreneurship education so important for Sri Lanka at this stage of its economic development?
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question. So when talk about Sri Lanka, actually before moving how this entrepreneur education important for Sri Lanka, let's try to define who is an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a person who have an ability to recognize opportunities as well as mobilize resources as well as take calculated risk to create sustainable enterprises for social and economic development. In addition to that, right now we required not only job seekers, we require job creators. So when talk about small medium enterprises in Sri Lanka, actually it covers like more than 52% of gross domestic product in our country, as well as small medium enterprises cover more than 45% of national employment in the country. Not only that, in addition to small medium enterprises covers more than 75% of the enterprises in Sri Lanka. So then you can understand how these small medium enterprises are significant for economic development. It acts as a backbone of the economy.
Absolutely.
Even though it acts as a backbone of economy, right now as a country we are facing different challenges. Right, youth unemployment rate is higher than the national unemployment rate of the country, especially among educated professionals. Right. So therefore, high youth unemployment as well as low productivity, like these problems create challenges for a country like Sri Lanka. Even though it acts as a backbone, so entrepreneurial education is the good weapon to find solution for that, because there are many more platforms available in Sri Lanka to strengthen entrepreneurial education. So therefore, when students get these opportunities, automatically they can grab the business opportunities, they can have entrepreneurial mindset to acquire required competencies to start up their own venture. So that's why this entrepreneurial education is very much needed for a country like Sri Lanka.
I think it's very important because in Thailand as well, I was reading recently that the largest sector of unemployed, unfortunately, are recent graduates.
Yes.
And there's huge unemployment, and there's something missing in what we're teaching them. And I think people don't realise that entrepreneurship is not just about the new IT businesses or AI businesses or internet businesses. I think what you said before is really important for our audience. It's identifying gaps.
Very true.
And so the gap may not be something which we call sexy, as in, like an IT, business. It might be something where there's a gap in an area, and it might be in services, it might be in infrastructure, it could be in any field, but the identification of that gap. And then you said something else about risk.
Yes.
So identifying gap, opportunity, but being a risk taker.
Yes.
Could you expand more about that?
Yes, actually most of the Sri Lankan, especially educated crowd, they risk averse, right? They always calculate risk and they hesitate to take the risk. No, we as entrepreneurs, initially what we have to do is we have to conduct market analysis and we have to identify the emerging opportunities in the market. Then after we have to take necessary action to grab those opportunities, because we can turn our business idea into action if we are willing to take the risk. So that kind of behavior is highly required. Like most of the Sri Lankan, what I have noted, because in my recent research also it revealed, like most of the people are potential entrepreneurs. That means they wish to start their own venture, but they never like to shift from potential to nascent sector. Nascent mean like people who wish to start their business and they have to take necessary action to start the business.
Yep.
But most of the people are not take necessary action, such as preparing a business plan, discuss with the financial institution and find out whether sufficient finance available to start their own venture. That type of behavior is lacking in, especially among the educated crowd, even though there is entrepreneurial education is provided from many more institutions. So I firmly believe, like, first we have to grab, in order to grab the opportunities, we have to identify the opportunities prevailing in the market and we have to find out the solution to the existing problem. It is needed. It is needed. That is the behavior which are already lacking in Sri Lankan like educated crowd.
I'm not sure about Sri Lanka, but I know there's a trend in Southeast Asia and in Australia. There's a trend of people doing, for example, a Bachelor of Business or a Bachelor of Business Administration. And there's a trend where some people say, right, I want to do my business. I've been at university long enough. I'm going to leave and start my business. And unfortunately, the trend is that they fail in the first 6 months. And even more unfortunate, they don't return to university. So I suppose my next question is, what is the value, the inherent value in studying an entrepreneurial degree?
Yes, of course. It's, the thing is actually, when we pursue an entrepreneurship degree, basically we can acquire knowledge and skills, right? Knowledge and skills are the highly required things to identify the gaps and find the solution for the problems. In addition to that, like basically, these entrepreneurial education provide how we can conduct market analysis, how we can identify emerging opportunities. Not only that, how we can plan a business, how we can develop our own business model, and as well as how we can calculate risk, especially for financial literacy is needed. So therefore, forecasting, cash flow statement, how we should prepare, every knowledge will be provided. Not only that, because we have to work with people. Basically, these not only degree like diploma or high diploma or any other certificate courses, it provide on entrepreneurship basically how we can effectively and efficiently handling people. How we can get the best out of them. So that knowledge is required. Like if you have money, if you have wish is not sufficient. That knowledge is highly required to put your idea into action. So therefore, these entrepreneurial like education, these entrepreneurship degree play a very big role, providing, like, they are the people who dig in ground to start their own venture. And not only that, sir, like when acquiring entrepreneurial education, we don't want to be an entrepreneur exactly. We can be the business consultant, we can be the like innovative manager, as well as family business successor, likewise business development executives. There are many more opportunities prevailing, as well as many more graduates are successfully implementing their businesses, especially in tourism, information technology, export-oriented markets. So therefore, they witness for that success. How they become? Because the foundation is entrepreneurial education. It is highly needed. Rather than merely starting business will not make sense. So the basic knowledge and competence is highly required to start a business and carry out business without any problem.
I love your passion. This is something which obviously is very close to your heart. You said something which was very interesting, a family business successor. And I'd like to just dwell on that for a moment. For those of you out there who may not understand that, a lot of you may actually be family business successors. That means mum and dad or your grandparents may have started a business, your parents took over the business. Now it's your turn to take over the business again. And just because the business has been in the family for many years doesn't mean it's going to remain successful. And I think that's where maybe further studies in entrepreneurship could be very beneficial to those people. Would you like to elaborate a little bit on the family business successor?
Yeah, Actually, it's very good question, right? So, example there are many more Sri Lankan companies who are successfully operating in Sri Lanka. They start as a family-owned business. Actually, basically, not only gaining knowledge and like competence is not sufficient. Like the practical experience play a very big role to be a successful entrepreneur. So therefore, if you have your own business, like practical experience can be taken. Not only that, your grandparents and people who establish this business can take as a mentor for your activity. So always, even though we acquire entrepreneurial education, we should not be high-minded that we know everything. So we have to expose to the practical experience, and we have to get the support from the mentors, like sometimes our grandparents and our people who act as the pillars of the success of that business. So it is needed, like, so therefore, according to the research, many more people have empirically found that like education, formal education also required. In addition to that, mentoring as well as practical experience play a very big role there. So therefore, we have to be very humble enough to expose with them and get their ideas and try to develop our business in a very ethical way and a successful way.
You also touched on, for example, maximising the business earlier and about people.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important too, that even though the business may have been successful in the past, it might have been, and we're talking about family business now, so a small, medium enterprise, it may have been that your grandfather or your grandmother was charismatic and had leadership qualities, and then your father or your mother took over the reins, and they also had that leadership, that charisma, that personality. So I suppose what I'm asking now is, in a typical entrepreneurial degree, so a degree in say entrepreneurship, do you have some of those soft skills as well incorporated into the study?
Yes, of course. Why not? Because there are a lot of resources we require to run a business, like physical resources, money, machine, methods, material. But people is totally different and they are very unique. So handling people is an art. I firmly believe it's an art, because getting work done through people is not a very easy thing. Because we have to understand their needs and wants, and we have to prioritize according to our requirement. And so therefore, handling people is another totally different art. So in an entrepreneurship domain also, when we are handling a startup, or if we want to success in our activities, because since we have very few people, we are dealing with very few people in a startup or in a small medium enterprises. But in that scenario, we have to understand their needs and wants, and we have to understand whether is it possible for us to cater their requirement. That is also highly required.
Yes.
Then taking these two things into account, we have to handle people in a very soft way. Soft skills play a very big role, because again I would like to say, getting work done through people is an art.
Absolutely. And I think there's also a trend where a lot of graduates are lacking in soft skills when they go to a company as an employee. So if you have the employee lacking in soft skills, and you have the entrepreneur or the leader lacking in soft skills, you have this, it's not going to work. But if both parties have that soft skills, they can come together. So I think that's critical. That leads me to a question then. I spoke to a colleague of yours in another episode, in a previous episode, talking about leadership, whether that's something that we innately have or can be taught. I suppose my question for you is about entrepreneurship. Is that something we're born with, or is it something we can teach, or is it a combination of the both?
Yes, of course. Actually, some people believe like this entrepreneurship can be taught. Actually, the very clear answer is entrepreneurship can be taught, because that's why there are many more institutions are offering entrepreneurial degree and other necessary arrangements they are making from their end, because it can be taught. But there are some people who born from their genes, they are very curious, they are innovative, they are passionate about activities, they are willing to take risks. That kind of things are happening. So therefore, I firmly believe like entrepreneurship is a competency. It can be acquired through formal education, practical experience, as well as from learning as well. So therefore, that's why many more organizations have started certificate courses, degree, diploma, higher diploma to teach this subject. Not only that, like there are so many more private and state universities as well as educational institutions started incubator centers as well as startup competitions, and they are promoting, they are taking necessary actions to promote this concept and to provide this entrepreneurial education. So therefore, I firmly believe like entrepreneurial education is highly needed. On the other hand, it can be taught.
I think there's a very strong message for those of you out there who are aspiring entrepreneurs, and you may be confident and think, I know what I need to know, I can lead people. I think the message here is that by complementing your own attributes, your skills, your talents, your attitudes, complementing that with formal study is going to make you a better, more well-equipped entrepreneur in the future. So I suppose my last question then is about what would be your message to young people who are considering to study entrepreneurship?
Yes, yes, I would like to invite, as I told you, like youth youth educated people are unemployed. On the other hand, like I always invite them, don't wait for the opportunities, try to create them. It is highly needed, like, because when we talk about this world, like work of world is now totally changing, right? With the digitalization, with the artificial intelligence, because of this high competition, now this world is changing. So therefore, the future success is highly depend on innovation, creativity, problem solving and leadership. So therefore, entrepreneurship degree, this entrepreneurial education provide a very good support, and it provide a very good support for youth people especially to acquire required entrepreneurial education and competency. So therefore, I kindly request our not only educated youth, like all youth in Sri Lanka, grab this opportunity and try to pursue this education. It is highly needed. As well as there are high potential sectors in Sri Lanka like information technology, tourism, as well as logistic and supply chain, as well as renewable energy sector and creative industries. There are so many plenty of opportunities are available. So therefore, you are required to start your own venture. So before that, you have to acquire knowledge. Not only that, as I told you, expose with the like senior people and get their exposure and get their advisors, get the practical experience and try to do the change. As well as therefore, finally, I would like to invite our youth generation to be curious, be innovative, as well as be creative, as well as embrace opportunities and learn from failures. Not only that, you have to be very passionate about your activity. Even though it's a simple activity, don't take it in a very simple manner. Do your level best. So eventually, you can create value for the society.
I have another last question for you. You gave a whole lot of attributes then, like problem solving, critical thinking, passion, and you're very passionate about this topic. Could I ask you if you tell me an entrepreneur that you admire and why you admire he or she? Maybe a little story to finish with.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, when we talk about entrepreneurs, I have heard many more stories about successful entrepreneurs. Initially, what they have to do is they have to be very curious about what they are doing, and don't overconfidence about yourself. It is needed, but if you identify a market gap, or initially you have to identify a problem, and when you provide a solution for that problem, try your level best to give the best solution for that problem. It is needed. And not only that, you have to hang in that sector, and time to time you have to look at where improvements needed. It is needed. So therefore, there are sometimes you may fail, but you have to learn from failures.
And bounce back.
Yes, of course. They are the pillars of success.
Yeah.
Then try your level best in any way what you do. Eventually, you can be succeed.
Who's an entrepreneur that you admire?
Yeah, actually, there are a lot. Like especially, I can't tell one figure. There are, because sector wise there are different people play a very big role, and very few example like Pickme, Kapruka. Pickme it dominates like transportation sector, and Kapruka it dominates e-commerce sector. Not only that, like Damro, they started their family owned business, as well as MAs, they also started like that. But today they play a very big role in our country, it has expanded to the international level as well. So therefore, in addition to that, like the founder of the PNS, he also play a very big role. So likewise, there are actually we cannot tell exactly one person. We can learn different stories from different personalities. So according to our sector, there are nice lessons we can learn. So learn from experience, learn from their stories. It is needed.
That's why I think that doing formal studies in entrepreneurship is so important, because again, you'll have these stories, you'll be able to pick different attributes or skills or talents that they had in establishing their businesses. And as you heard from Dr. Michelle, some of these started as small family enterprises and now they're global. So I think on that note, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us today. So it's been a pleasure.
Me too, sir. Have a nice day.
Thank you. And you. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode of Education as a Garden Digger. And until we see you next time, thank you.